right, and for the very last big idea talk of the 2021 Ashoka U Exchange, I'm pleased to introduce Sylvia Ma, partner at Ad Astra Ventures.
Hello. Trust. Trust is something intangible, but it has incredible value. It is also so strong, yet so fragile. And how can something be so important, be such an important part of humanity, connecting people, that we don't really know how to define it? And when we try to define it, we say, how does that actually exist within and in between individuals to be the crucial glue connecting communities and nations? And then when we think about the human potential of where awareness meets action, global movements are made by trust bridges between fervently passionate individuals who make a collective that breathes and grows as one. But what starts right before a trust bridge is formed? Trust is the most valuable currency of any transaction. So when you dissect it, what do you uncover? As a scientist, I am naturally curious, but also trained to figure out sequences of reactions and the genesis of the quintessential question, why? So I was curious and I asked, what happens right before trust is born? What is the origin story of trust? When is it born? It is both fragile and strong. Is it an individual connection? Is it a network effect? But what I do know is that when nurtured by good humans, it can grow exponentially to build a unique global mindset of impact. It's like as if it's completely, utterly complex, and yet a so simple 5-letter word. The genesis is respect and reciprocity with a strong dose of empathy and awareness. You have to give of yourself and receive for yourself to begin to build the spark of a trust bridge. Then empathy and awareness of yourself and others is the glue or cement that holds it all together. Again, the dichotomy of this essential element that we call trust is both fragile yet strong, delicate in the vulnerability between people, yet powerful in the potential energy of connecting humans. Trust stems from first, the beauty of two people. Rooted in the vulnerability of sharing their unique stories, their journeys, their challenges, and celebrations. The beauty or magic is how we find commonalities of experiences or visions of change, and how we, over and over again, grow these trust-filled relationships with micro moments of connection. Again, this dichotomy exists because the strength is in the power of humanity to believe and act on individual strengths that builds a collective intertwined rope of powerful purpose. Well, that rope is how we expand trust, the intertwinings of things that has a piece of empathy and a connection of, and a piece of raw humanity. It's like the old adage, iron sharpens iron. The blessings of two people sharpening each other's impact and growing inclusively towards a better world. This is the potential energy trust brings. Hola, soy Silvia. Soy venezolana de padres italianos y americanos y me casé con un Chi-Mexican. Somos Naciones Unidas en mi familia. We are United Nations in my family. I am Venezuelan of Italian and American parents, and I married a Chi-Mexican. I live being intersectional, a woman on a mission. I connect on a very visceral level with so many people in my various communities. I always thought it was something that was just because I was a global citizen, identifying myself as a strong feminist, raising strong, respectful, and resilient boys, and an independent thinking daughter. I'm a special needs mom and sister, an international student that came to the United States at 17 years old. I also manage a career at the crossroads of science, innovation, investment, advocacy, and hard work with a strong cup of integrity. It's really messy, but it's mine, all mine, and it's intersectional. Well, who can relate out there? I know. And what I've seen over and over and over again is that I kept it simple, building trust between people me, individuals, my community, my network, and it grows and grows. I have focused on this piece of respect and reciprocity with a high degree of empathy and awareness, always focused on my North Star, equity. And when people ask me, what is it about you? I say it's all of the above. And it's about building something bigger than ourselves, trusting one another to create impact with integrity. But I've always felt like I never really fit in. There was no path I have been able to follow, no role models to emulate, but so many to aspire to. I came to a new country, but even though I thought I looked like a pretty much a white American, I said words backwards like hair arms instead of arm hairs. And I said mango instead of mango. And I was corrected by my new friends always. I wanted so desperately to fit in and just find some kind of mold. I wanted to connect with people, but I realized that as I built friendships, at the core of my friendships was respect, respecting people's uniqueness. Well, reality hit me, and I realized that trust binds us and makes us feel more included and more connected, albeit small connections or large ones. But I didn't always feel like this. I grew up during a time where fitting into a box was important for your identity. My parents' generation were traumatized during World War II. My mother right now is 92. She rationed sugar during the Depression in the state of Colorado and saw her high school sweethearts going off to war. And my dad, on the other hand, dodged bombs in his native city of Torino, Italia, where he was an orphan and a tradesman for printing presses. They lived very different lives, but ended up in Venezuela as transplants and grew a family. Well, fast forward to my generation. Well, I married a Chinexican, part Chinese and part Mexican, who looks Hawaiian, where his dad was going through war in China and his mom went through the revolution in Mexico as a Chinese immigrant. What amazing stories. I have that identify who I am now with a family who built trust with each other. We were able to build an amazing family with diverse lineages. We all put together in unique ways, yet we connect through a glue called trust. My purpose in this world is to encourage people to understand the uniqueness between them so that they can begin to build trust. Practically, building trust is to understand that trust increases inclusiveness through the practice of vulnerability. When I see this in the world that I live in, I'm vibing in. I know that the strong bonds of connections, no matter what you look like or the ideas that you have, is held together by trust. Trust builds bridges between different stories and different people and connections everywhere. Trust strengthens networks, which grows communities. So, a more inclusive and impactful world where people innovate and build ideas and ventures is the world that I want to live in and I want to build with all of you. Remember that this intangible asset trust is both strong but fragile and it builds amazing communities. We fortify our bridges by reaching out to people, connecting on a daily basis. So, the encouragement I have for you today is to start with one step, to build small bridges of connection, write and connect with people through trust notes. It's as easy as texting somebody, sending them a nice message, leaving them a post-it note on their front door. I love hashtags. Who loves hashtags out there? So use hashtag trust note to start a respectful movement, to spark conversation, to build a bridge of trust, to include someone, to love. I want to really empower and encourage you to use the hashtag in the final hours of the Ashoka Exchange and beyond, and the message boards and social media through your life experiences. Use that hashtag trust notes when you can connect. Take that step, start that conversation. It's as simple as saying, what you spoke about inspired me. The more that we dive into the core of humanity, the core of what connects us through trust, the more our world will look the way we want to live it. So be intersectional, be audaciously messy, Be your most unique self and empower others to do exactly the same way in their own way. Thank you so much. And if we have any questions, we can answer them. Want to see if there's any questions. I'm checking everything. Oh, what do you teach? Oh, thank you so much. I teach entrepreneurship and investor relations. So at Astra Ventures, it's a venture group that we empower entrepreneurs and investors to really think about this trust relationships. How do you build trust between entrepreneurs and investors? And at the university, I have taught multiple different things: design thinking, innovation, entrepreneurship. I've taught summer intensives that allow students to go from an idea to actually a full-grown venture, or ruminate on a whole idea the whole summer and see where you go. I was at the University of California, San Diego, and the University of San Diego. And I taught social innovation there as a director of a program, not any classes, but as an experiential program. I know there's a lot of you out there that do experiential learning for students. So that's part of what I've done over the years. And then I mentor also at different universities, Biola University, and give speeches wherever I am needed for that impact space, the impact innovation space, or innovation space, and also this idea of trust amongst people, because I think that that's what really grows an ecosystem, grows innovation, grows ideas, and we really are hoping that this world is a better place, right? Through all of the ideas and innovations, social innovations, and just pure technology. So thank you for your question, Rafael. Anybody else who has a question, I'm here to answer them. If anybody has any other questions, or raise your hand. Oh, Muthoni, thank you. Yes, be intersectional. I know that when I first came to the United States, I was like, well, where do I fit in? I'm this international citizen, but what is this? I'm one way, but I'm another way. And everybody wanted me to be on a path. And that path seemed to be at first science. It seemed to be first academia. And then it was like, well, I'm a mom at the same time. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to have children now. How do I do that? And how to, not really fitting into a box. And I thought, oh, that's so bad, right? I can't fit into this box. I need to fit into here. And then I realized, no, I don't. I'm really intersectional, and that's what makes me super amazing. But it took me a long time to think that way. I always had my students come in, and I always had my open door policy. Open door policy, they would come into my office and do their homework. And they're like, what is it about you? I'm like, I just accept everybody, come on in, open door. And that path of like that academic is like, okay, closed door or something like that back then. Now it's a little bit different. So it was really interesting to see, oh, that's kind of what defines me. Oh, okay, I'm a little bit unique there. It's good, right? I speak Spanish. I have a way of thinking that's a little bit different because I was born and raised overseas. And of course, my parents influenced me as being older parents. So what does that look like? And then I'm a special needs mom and sister. So I have to work with that. So all this intersectionality is unique in everybody, Muthoni, right? You have your intersectionality, and it's beautiful and unique and thriving. Like, double down on that, right? Making sure that you say, hey, you know what I'm doing, and I say it's messy, but I'm messy in a great way, right? It's like messy. I always say a messy house means that we're living in it. So it's like, if you have a messy life, you're actually living in your life. You're living your best life. And that's amazing, and I think that that's something that I've had to learn over the years. And when people say, well, what about you? What is it that you connect with people? I can connect with so many people because I've had everything happen to me, right? And been able to experience different things. And that intersectionality and that experience of life is just fantastic, right? And we as the people who are intersectional, who are kind of going through life, experiencing so much, being creative, innovative, taking all opportunities that we can, we're carving the way to really make an impact in this world, and embrace that, right? And find others that you can have that trust bridge with, and saying, hey, you're doing pretty awesome stuff, right? Let's connect. And even if it is just a small connection, connect. Let's see how we can do it. So yeah, it's really exciting to be able to be that person who kind of carries that forwards and brings everybody along, right? Everybody is welcome into just life in general. And if I have opportunities for others, I always include them. And just, yeah, it's just great. Thank you, Muthoni, so much. Yeah, and Rafael too, the inspiring with the trust notes. I really wanted to have something that you can take away. So this is as easy as texting somebody, as I said, and say, hey, I really loved how you did this, or how you communicated that was really great, or you actually were very present in our conversation. I think that's super important in this life that we live that's full of social media. I'm going here and going there and fast and this and that and TikToks and all kinds of things. I'm on Clubhouse too. So that's a whole other ball of wax. But having that present, being present and saying, wow, I'm here for you. Acknowledge that with somebody else and just say, hey, you know what? I really love that. And let's continue this conversation. I think that trust is super important. But when you don't communicate that, it's sometimes like, well, maybe they liked me, maybe they didn't. That conversation was a little bit like very vulnerable, but did they like it? And just by saying, hey, I loved meeting you. I loved you being present. And that's like trust note. That builds that trust. That's that little spark of like saying, oh, there's a connection, right? And you can communicate that. And they're like, wow, yes, we are connected. Let's do more of this. And that's how that ecosystem grows, that community grows very mindfully and very creatively and full of trust. I think a lot of people use mindfulness very frequently. And I love the word, right? Because it is that, it's curating a relationship, curating then your community, curating your network so that you can make that impact collectively, right? I love that about really being conscious of how you're building out that network and how you're building out the activities or the actions that you do as an impact driver, as a change maker in this world. And that's why we're here at the Ashoka Exchange. So very exciting that we have everybody here today. Yeah, I wanted to see if anybody else has any questions. I'm here to answer anything. I think one thing that has come up is also how do you connect those bridges, really finding out how people believe in different things, the vulnerability of saying, I came from here. Ask them what their origin story is. That's always exciting. On my podcast, I always ask my investor friends, even though I've known them for years, I said, what was your first investment? And that is just, they lighten up and they're saying, wow, yeah, I've never thought about that. I invested in my sister's business, or I invested in something that was very dear to me, or I invested in something that really wanted to make an impact in this world, or I wanted the return on investment. And that creates a great story, right, of connection, of saying, wow, that's how they started. Interesting. So I would say that whenever you're talking to somebody and there's a pause, or you want to really dive into somebody and really like get to know them more, ask them, how did you start? What's your genesis? What's your origin story? So that you can really build that trust even more. I think that that's a very strong conversation to have with people, and you get so much out of it. So again, that's that reciprocity and respect, is that you respect, oh, what is your origin story? And the reciprocity is saying, okay, you gave me some vulnerability, I'm going to give you some vulnerability too, saying my origin story is this, and this is why I do the things that I do. So that give and take and that reciprocity and respect is super important. But then that empathy, that like EQ, right? The emotional intelligence of saying, wow, I have this empathy towards this person. That's how things grow. And then awareness of who they are, where they came from. You really build a very, very rich connection and a rich community as you build little by little all of these things. So anybody else have any questions? We are good then. So, thank you, Lydia. Wonderful. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I always can talk about this. This is like my favorite topic. And I find that a lot of people who really take on this trust, respect, reciprocity, awareness, empathy are usually servant leaders. So servant leadership is very dear to me also. It's really important in this impact space, is serving others. And as you serve others, you have the return on impact, not a return on investment. So as you're growing, you're serving others, you're helping people, then that impact spreads, and that respect is at the core of that trust bridge as you're growing your community. So if anybody else have any questions, Beta, are we almost done or we are continuing?
I think we are at time. Thank you so much, Sylvia, and to the folks who joined. It was a pleasure having you here, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the exchange today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Bye-bye.